Mr. Speaker, in January 2017, the Prime Minister invited all those fleeing persecution and war to come to Canada, but instead of prioritizing real refugees, he rolled out the red carpet for those who were visiting or already residing in the U.S. In 2017, it's possible that people were fleeing the United States because of Donald Trump, but that fear doesn't exist under the Biden administration. When will he come to the aid of real refugees and permanently close Roxham Rd? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, we're taking note of the little knowledge the Conservatives are displaying about Roxham. We're talking about men, women, and children who have fled tragic situations. I think that the Conservative Party should inform itself a bit better before trying to ask questions on the subject. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, I think I'm well aware of the file, and I'm aware that the United States is a safe country. People in the United States can ask asylum in the United States if they need asylum. When they go from the U.S. to Canada, we're not respecting the Safe Third Country Agreement. Can the government resolve the issue with the Safe Third Country Agreement and stop people from coming in through land crossing? The Honourable Minister for Immigration.
Domestic and legal and international legal obligations that require us to consider in good faith claims of asylum that have been made for those who enter the country in search of safe haven. In his previous question, he indicated that people are somehow displacing other more deserving refugees. I would point out, Mr. Speaker, to my honourable colleague that Canada over the past 3 years has resettled more refugees than any other country in the world. And each of the last 2 years, Canada has resettled more than 1/3 of the total number of refugees that have been settled anywhere globally. We will continue to be the world leader when it comes to doing the right thing to support the world's vulnerable, not just who cross our border from the United States, but around the world altogether.
Mr. Speaker, in 2017, the Prime Minister published a tweet inviting everyone fleeing persecution to come to Canada, but he probably didn't think that everyone would use Roxham Rd to get here, but that's exactly what happened. In October alone, 3,900 asylum seekers came through Roxham Rd for a total of more than 30,000 this year. And do you know how many people used regular checkpoints? Only 638 out of 30,000. Will the minister suspend the Safe Third Country Agreement so that asylum seekers once again start to use regular border checkpoints? The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Great respect to my honourable colleague. I expect he knows that people don't flee their country because of a tweet from a country's leader. They leave their country because they are fleeing violence, war, and persecution. We're going to continue to do what we can to support those who seek refuge in Canada and continue to do so in an organized way. I'm pleased to work with my colleagues on all sides of this House in order to treat those who are in search of safe haven with dignity and respect as we have an orderly migration system at the same time.
L'honorable député de Lac-Saint-Jean.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Well, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's tweet also surprised the RCMP, which didn't realize that 90% of its officers at the borders would now have to spend their time managing Roxham Rd. There are 117 border checkpoints with Border Services officers where asylum seekers could cross the border instead of Roxham Rd. If the minister suspended the agreement, that would enable the RCMP to do its work properly. When will the minister suspend the agreement so that the RCMP can concentrate on weapons trafficking instead? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Does my colleague really think that people choose the rest of their lives based on a tweet? I've said it before. People crossing the border are people who have often experienced very difficult circumstances, men, women, and children who are fleeing violence and discrimination. My colleagues should consider the human side of things. The Bloc Québécois is asking for the agreement to be suspended, but Quebec is asking for it to be renegotiated. It's very confusing. My colleague should do his homework. Mr. Speaker, let's talk about dignity. Because of Roxham Rd, 62% of asylum requests in Canada are made in Quebec, and the result is that we don't have enough space in our schools, immigration lawyers are overwhelmed, and so are community organizations. We need to suspend the Safe Third Country Agreement to ensure that asylum seekers can be welcome with dignity everywhere in Canada. Why should Montreal organizations have to do all the work instead of organizations in Vancouver, Winnipeg, or Halifax, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois is not interested in offering a dignified welcome to asylum seekers. It just wants to give them a locked door, whereas these men, women, and children are fleeing terrible circumstances. And the Bloc Québécois is all alone in its position. We are saying we need to renegotiate the agreement, and that's also what the Quebec government is saying. Everyone agrees on that. But the Bloc Québécois wants to suspend it. They're the only ones saying that. I wonder if they even know what they're talking about.